Don't you want it? 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 You lose your little mind. 5, 10 lives.
Deadlights Pod. Welcome to the Deadlights Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Johnston.
And I am your host, bringing you your what? Weekly. God damn it! Fuck! Delete all of this.
Delete all. So rewind. Deadlights Pod. Oh, welcome to the Deadlights Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Johnston.
And I am Leslie, bringing you your weekly dose of horror, everybody.
And welcome. And this week, a dose of something extra, actually.
Oh.
We got a little Deadlights.
A dose?
Couple large doses of Cocaine Bear.
Wow.
From 2023. Directed by Elizabeth Banks. Written by Jimmy Warden. An oddball group of cops, criminals, tourists, and teens converge in a Georgia forest where a 500-pound black bear goes on a murderous rampage after unintentionally ingesting cocaine.
And were they odd?
There was quite a group of people.
All odd.
Yes. It was so. This kind of bear attacking people in the woods is definitely not a new thing in the horror genre. Like, there's been multiple movies before of, it's typically hikers going into the woods and they get lost and then they're suddenly stalked by this crazed bear for whatever reason. And in this case, it's just a crazed bear that's turned up to 12 with cocaine, which then turns kind of everything up in the movie.
Exactly. And that's what I wanted to highlight, is that they had to heighten the characters, because we have something as crazy as a bear doing cocaine, which is based on a true event, everybody. So it's not all that far-fetched. So
happens.
It's happened once, it can happen again.
Yep. Very true.
So,
very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're totally right. Well, why don't we just get straight into this cam? I'm sorry. It's with the theme, okay?
Going in.
The can.
Wow, you did 2 lines there.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh, that's fine.
Got it? All right. So as you kind of already talked about, things are kind of heightened in this movie. Even, down to the cinematography too. Even at the beginning of the movie, we were starting on this plane where I think some sort of FBI agent guy was doing a lot of cocaine.
He was known for being off his rockers.
Yes, and he was definitely just like going crazy because he's just chucking bags of coke and doing coke, and the lights are all like really cool, and it's like super red, and he's listening to the rock song, and then kind of that heightened, especially reds, carries through the whole movie too. Like, we get it with the lights. Scenes are lit with red neon lights later. Hikers' bandanas are super red. The people's lipstick is super red. Red is everywhere, and it's super, super saturated, which just, I think, is adding to this almost surrealistness of the movie.
Yes. Because also, majority of the time, our bear is CGI. Because, unfortunately, you just have to if you want to have a very crazed bear. It's not going to be moving or reacting the way that a regular bear or somebody in a suit would.
Right.
I think, to balance the whole film, you have to have at least everybody be a little off. We're dealing with a animal who is now very addicted to cocaine. And because their whole instinct is to attack, especially we learned a black bear.
If it's black, attack. If it's brown, lay down.
If it's
Big lesson.
If it's white, you're dead.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're dead.
Yeah, you're already dead. If it's white, it's probably a ghost because you're in the afterlife. Oh, right, a polar bear. Right, there are white bears. Well,
It's a ghost.
it's a ghost.
So you're probably dead.
Yeah, you dead. If you're in the Antarctic and you're seeing polar bears, you might as well be. It's cold.
I mean,
yeah,
it's cold.
it's cold.
How'd you end up there?
But yeah, so do you think, I guess, going back to this CGI bear that you're talking about, do you think it distracted you at all that it was CGI?
You know,
I mean, because we did clearly know it was CGI the whole time.
I think it was well done.
Yeah.
And the context of this movie didn't allow me to think of the CGI as a what word do I want to use? Just kind of like cheap.
Right.
Because it looked fantastic.
Because they committed so hard to it, I was never bothered by it. And because we have a bear that is constantly doing coke and like is addicted to coke, and we have to have like the red bead eyes, those close-ups you're not going to be able to get without doing CGI. They committed to it, and I was never bothered by it either.
And I also thought the script was phenomenal. We had different groups of people who needed to land in the forest and have a very clear motive as to why they needed to accomplish it.
It was keeping track of at least 3 different storylines going on.
The family.
We had, Kerry Washington looking for her daughter and her friend.
With the funniest kid on this planet, I want to say.
Great kid actors.
Great
kid actors. And then we had super, super sad Eddie and his drug dealer friend who are sent by Ray Liotta to go find the cocaine. And then we also have this detective character who is super lonely and finds a dog at a crime scene and falls in love with it. And we have him going to, I believe, recover the cocaine from the forest as well. So the movie is keeping track of these converging storylines.
And our ranger.
And the ranger characters.
Is carrying on the love interest.
Yeah.
She was hitting on that man so hard.
Oh, yeah. Hitting on the environmental inspector.
Yes.
Played by Jesse Tyler Ferguson.
Oh, so great.
Yeah.
That storyline was so nice to have because everybody else has a either, emotional kind of story arc. And this one is just like trying to be so easygoing and like flirting in the most nerdy way possible, which I think is the most romantic way.
Friends?
It means animals. I don't like that word. He doesn't like to call them animals.
There's just kind of this whimsical quality about the filmmaking. I think that Elizabeth Banks did a really good job of just kind of committing to that kind of style, this fun, over-the-top, heightened style with these wacky characters that we can think are really funny and stupid, but still at the end of the day, there is an emotional drive to some of these, and we care about them in the end. So I think, she keeps it fun and exciting, and there's still some stuff going on for sure.
I mean, and then also like the kills.
Yes.
Holy shit.
I think that why don't we just jump straight to the thrill real quick?
Yeah.
And just talk about this cocaine bear. The title character, Cocaine Bear.
Oh, Cocaine Bear.
Which is a female bear, we learn.
Yes, she is. She's a mama bear.
She's a mama bear, and she is super hopped up. And what I like about this movie is that it kind of functions for a little bit as like Jaws, because we know the cocaine bear is out there. You know, we know what's stalking the woods, and you know, at the beginning we have like a couple hikers like get picked off real quick, but we don't see it ever. Or we do see it pretty quickly, but we don't really know the extent of its brutality, I guess. We don't see how crazy it can get. And then throughout the movie, we get more and more gore that comes out and eventually leads to some pretty intense kills.
Yeah, the thrill was really fun.
Yes.
It is a comedy, a horror comedy. It's like, it's dark comedy because you are seeing people die.
Yeah. At a certain point, though, what I like is we're rooting for that to happen, you know, because we're coming into this movie knowing that there is a cocaine bear running around. And I for sure was wanting to see people get ripped apart and people like dying crazy off the wall ways. And I think it did deliver very well on the kills.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there were some definite like standout kills. I mean, the first notable one in my mind, which was a really cool, I think, pretty tense scene when Kerry Washington comes across the kid in the tree for the first time. It was just like a great shot of him running down the tree and then running up the tree really quickly, and then Jesse Tyler Ferguson just hung and just eaten upside down. It was like, damn.
Ooh.
Fucked up.
It's awful. Yeah, and then another part that I was just like, ooh, this thrill is pretty cool, is when the ambulance comes and tries to assess and respond to a call they had received.
Weather at the top of the hour, but first, more of your favorite hits here on 106.7
Tom, get in! Wait! Oh, God!
It wasn't just comical. It definitely had its kills. And,
For sure. For sure. And it kept escalating them. And that's what I was kind of concerned about going into this movie was...
It was going to be like one level.
Yeah, because, you have a bear rip someone apart, and then where do you go from there? But we have this whole, like, going from the closet, which is a very tense moment, going into the ambulance, which becomes like this chase scene, this like crazy pursuit scene, into it finally ends with really, really like satisfying deaths for each of the three characters that are in that scene.
Ooh.
And it's hard to watch, but it's like awesome to watch. It's thrilling. Like that whole sequence is just like really cool. And that's like probably at 75% of the movie done. So I think that they did a really good job of saving that like high kill, high intensity sequence for the right moment. And yeah, it really did. I mean, it exceeded my expectations of the kills. Sure.
And also going back to the can, it exceeded for me the character story plots and their arcs for those that survived. Because they really truly did a job well done, because they had me care for the folks that survived at the end.
Yeah. Even like
the bear.
Even the bear.
It made me care about the bear and the stupid fucking dog.
Yeah.
That was just there because it's, it needs a companion. We all need a companion. We will all do whatever we can to protect those that we love.
Yeah. This is perfect time to go into the meat of what it's actually talking about. I think it's kind of funny. Another funny point about this movie is because we're in 85, obviously the height of the war on drugs.
This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs.
And she was using real footage from 85 of like propaganda, PSAs about drugs. And even the Ranger character is more concerned about the kids than anything else going on in the forest or in the world, really.
Forest is a dangerous place. That gang of pubes are dangerous.
Gang of pubes.
Teens, delinquents.
But no one is paying attention to the cocaine bear that's running around the forest, and it just kind of comes out of nowhere to smack everyone in the face of like, this is a real threat going on right here.
I mean, to like, it's a big issue. It's a big issue. The war on drugs. It really, truly emphasized on a group of people, and a very specific group of people. And although they were trying to protect the kids, like, who the fuck was bringing in the drugs? That's a rhetorical question.
Yep.
We all know the answer too. So yeah, it's like, it is such a big issue that we're finding it in our forests, and the animals, the innocent animals, are finding it and dying. You know? Come on.
Yeah, it's kind of like,
come on.
And the fact that this story is true, and that they also use real footage of news stories about this story specifically, it just kind of is a big portrait of like the ridiculousness of our world and of our system. This is one of those movies where it's like stranger than fiction, and it's just kind of a nice reminder of the world that we lived in the 80s and still do live in now. And just don't forget that this world can be as fucking crazy as what you see in the movies.
And yeah, to add to that, we have our drug dealers, who are the most emotionally connected characters.
They have like,
who are struggling with their position.
Yeah. I loved Sad Eddie.
Eddie's in mourning. Joni just died, and he quit.
So sad, man. I'm so fucking sad. Okay.
And that's their story arc. It's like, why are we doing this? For the money? Like, fuck that. And so one of them is realizing this and trying to get the other one to come into terms because they're best friends. And obviously the one that keeps fighting with his morality is the one that keeps getting fucked up, and it's so hilarious and so sad. But
it's like the world just continually reminding him like, this is not the right path.
And and in some way they're at fault for the children doing cocaine, because they're getting fed that ditching school, doing drugs, and all the other delinquent kind of things are what's cool. They're trying to upcool each other. So they do they don't even know how to do it. They could have OD'd, but luckily they spat a lot of it out. They did get high.
Definitely got high. Going through an experience with a cocaine bear is better than any of those PSAs that we saw. You want to see the effects of drugs? Yeah, here's a cocaine bear.
Look at this. This is who you'll be.
Yeah, I think that those kids got a good lesson. They're going to be staying away from cocaine for a while.
I hope so, because
sure hope
they look like good kids. But again, it's what you surround yourself with, the people around you are saying, and then you feel pressure to try to like meet those standards of, quote unquote society. And that's what happens, kids, when you do a lot of drugs.
A bear will tear you apart.
You don't want to see a methamphetamine bear.
Oh, no.
You do not want to see methamphetamine bear. No. Or heroin bear.
Heroin bear is way more docile. Heroin bear like...
True, but it's deadly.
If it needs its fix, it'll do something crazy.
It will not even think about it.
No. Especially if it's got little heroin cubs that it's got to fucking get heroin for.
Oh shit. Absolutely not.
No way.
No.
Let's get into the cook. Let's cook up this this. I was gonna say heroin, but that's so bad. No, let's stop talking about heroin. I kind of talked about it before, but everything in this movie, the cook is like super heightened. You know, everything about it is like super 80s. You know, we got between, you know, the coloring that we kind of already talked about with the reds and the blues, but also the costumes and the hair, super 80s. And we have these super wacky 80s characters as well. And I think that aspect, and also synth music too, very 80s music. The soundtrack is very 80s, so everything is selling on this heightened 80s, and I think that aspect of the filmmaking really works for me, and it's fun.
It's really strange for me. I do love callbacks of like eras. 80s right now is a big thing.
Super hot.
The 80s and 90s. Well, all of them, but 80s, I want to say it's a story arc in which, I mean, we can draw back on a lot, and those that are making the films were born in the 80s, raised in the 80s, so they get to just kind of like go back there and talk about issues that happened. But with this movie in particular, it was so pretty looking, very much like Stranger Things, where all the colors are heightened. And when you see an actual 80s film, they are wearing the clothes. Everything looks very similar, but the coloration is different, except for that red. That red stays.
That red.
So you can clearly just like, you know that it's modern because of that, because everything looks like HD, looks beautiful.
Yeah. There's kind of this like almost like glow about it, like a golden glow. And I think that kind of too, it just adds to that nostalgia that you feel when you're watching it. Because, I mean, we weren't born in the 80s. We weren't raised in the 80s. So, but we can still see this and feel nostalgic.
Yeah.
And so I think that, the film does a really good job of setting us in that nostalgia really hard.
I mean, I love the jumpsuit. The
Kerry
hot
Washington
pink.
killing it in that pink jumpsuit.
Loved it. I want one.
One of the things that I do agree with you that the movie does a really good job of juggling all these different storylines together, and I never felt lost in the woods. Pun. When it came to these storylines, and I could keep track of these characters, but it was a little weird to me at the end when they're in the cave. Like, the climax of the movie happens in the bear's cave when finally Kerry Washington search for her kids and the drug dealers search for the cocaine intersect. And there was like a moment of like they cared about each other, you know, like almost like they were aware of each other's storylines going on, but they had never met each other. The characters had never met each other. And so like the drug dealers kind of like showed that they cared about them, but they would be like, who the fuck are you? You know, I don't know. It was just kind of awkward, I guess, when these storylines and these characters that had never seen each other and weren't even aware of each other in the story finally came in contact with each other right in the last 15 minutes. And then suddenly there was an emotional connection between everyone. And I was like, I don't know if I'm sold on that.
Right.
Emotional connection between everyone.
Logically, in an emotional level, I wouldn't, no offense, but like I wouldn't give a fuck about anybody else.
Yeah.
Especially if I was in Kerry Washington's position.
Yeah.
I need to get these kids safe. They've been lost and I found them, and there's a bear and now there is human danger, I would have already jumped. I would have been like, I'm jumping out, because the bear is coming back for sure. And these motherfuckers are crazy, trying to get the, cocaine, and they got guns.
When they came together, there was no moment of like what we all learned like is now coming into play to help everyone in the end. It was just kind of like they stayed like separate storylines and they didn't fully come together. It was like these storylines just kind of like butted up against each other and continue running side by side. Because
we knew they were they were gonna get to the same location.
Right.
But it got resolved a little too quick with no sort of like, I think the only thing that, quote unquote tied the storylines together is that look between Eddie and the mom.
Which was to me, I was like, no.
We both started going, no.
Like, you don't know that guy.
No. There's no love story here that needs to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it just felt a little awkward at the end when that came together. And you can't really do much with that. I don't know how much else they could have like had them work together or whatever. I understand that they just needed to kind of wrap up these stories.
Well, they wrapped them up to get Cocaine Bear possibly too.
I know. Cocaine Bear too.
Oh, Cocaine Sheep.
Or Cocaine Sheep or Cocaine Cubs or I don't know, deer.
Cocaine Cubs. Cocaine Deer.
There's a lot
Cocaine
of
forest.
A lot of forest animals that can be on cocaine.
Squirrel.
Squirrel?
I mean, they were between squirrel. Between the ranger and the environmentalist person, they were talking all sorts of like animal creatures that can get into trash cans. So that's why they have those very elaborate trash cans that don't have, because like, I mean, they're smart creatures.
They were flirting over the trash can facts.
Squirrels could get in there.
Chipmunks.
Yeah, chipmunks get in there.
Dee Raccoon, little burger.
That's right.
Got his own little mascot.
Yeah,
I think they're
outfit.
cute.
Skunks.
There is a lot of bags.
There's a lot of bags out there.
Lots of bags.
And they haven't recovered any. Ooh. Well, the last thing to talk about is the ride, which, did feel like we were on a cocaine ride.
Yes.
They really kept it high energy the whole time, and there was very little downtime, which I'm fine with because it was a really just fun and enjoyable ride.
Yeah.
The whole time. I think that was a big strong point was I was never bored.
I was so intrigued with how funny it was.
I was laughing a lot.
There was a point in which the bear collapse on a person.
On Sad Eddie.
It's not moving.
I actually really liked that survivor teenager kid too. I thought he was very funny.
He was very funny.
He was like super nonchalant at the right moments, but also super skittish. And like, he kind of had that just like, this sounds mean, but it's the character, like this trashiness about him.
Yeah.
That was just kind of funny.
He's a free spirit, in the sense that like, there's a lot of kids that don't know the direction they want to go to, and drugs, somehow is it's a coping mechanism. So somehow they try to like figure that lifestyle, but that's what's really dangerous about drugs is that like when you have them be a coping mechanism, you have kids like this that are like very sweet, and very emotional and just like, influenced by everyone else around them.
It was funny because he was trying to be that like crazy tough 80s bully, that you see in all the Stephen King books, who's insane.
Yeah.
But then as soon as he's faced with like actual conflict, he's like starts crying and it's like, yeah, he's just a little boy.
And then he like, I mean, he's wearing clothes that are small.
Yeah.
For him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So who knows, like, if he was peer pressured from like his best friends.
Well, one of his best friends got his head cut off by the bear, and the other best friend
Got shot
by
the
the
ranger.
head by the ranger, which was whoa.
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. You're sorry? I'm sorry. Where'd the bear go? Killed him. Where's the bear? I don't know.
I didn't know rangers carried guns.
Park rangers are peace officers, which means we can shoot people.
She was one of those characters that was really funny, but I wanted to die so bad. I was like, when is the cocaine bear gonna get
Maul
her?
her.
And then her death was like,
Ooh. It was hard to watch.
yeah, strapped down on that stretcher and just road rash to death.
Ooh.
Ooh, it was hard.
Ouch.
But nice, but satisfying.
But great.
Nice. Cocaine bear.
Cocaine freaking bear.
What?
Elizabeth Banks.
Elizabeth Banks.
You done
good
it.
job. And that's, I guess, the last thing that I kind of wanted to say in general was, I guess I'll just go first on the Smash Pumpkins.
Yeah. Let's do it.
I think that Elizabeth Banks, it's funny because the movie starts off with a song that also is the beginning of the movie of Wet Hot American Summer, which is one of the first movies that she was in. So it's almost like this, tip of the hat that she's doing, it seems like, to that movie. And so I just think in general, it's really cool to see someone that has been in the industry so long finally, come around and be able to make their own movie and obviously make a movie that she is, excited about. And it seems like comedy and this like crazy absurdist style is something that she's been in and something that she likes. So it's awesome to see people make what it seems like they like.
Yeah.
So super tip of the hat to you, Elizabeth Banks,
Oh.
for doing that, because that's really cool.
Yeah.
And it was a really just fun movie. It really delivered on pretty much everything that it set out to be.
Yeah.
Which was this just high octane, cocaine fueled bear killing in the woods movie. And I think it was a really fun movie. I mean, as far as meat goes, there wasn't that much meat in there. It was pretty, pretty light on the actual like heavy themes or whatever. But you didn't really need that. It was still fun. So I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
Ooh.
5 out of 5. Cocaine bear.
Damn. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think what's really great is that this was like heavily advertised and what's the word? Anticipated. Highly anticipated movie, because I mean, from the get-go, from the trailers, things seem goofy. So yeah, we want to see a goofy horror film. Like we've mentioned, we've had so far a really great last year and the beginning of this year of horror films coming out. So to have one that's going to be, I mean, light in the sense that it has comedy in it, was really fun, and I liked how much it succeeded. So I'm gonna give it a little bit more of a higher score because I had fun.
Awesome.
I'm gonna do 3.8.
3.8. Nice.
Yeah.
Cocaine bear.
Cocaine
coming
bear.
in strong as it should on coke. Yeah, I did not know what to expect. This is a movie. This is, I think, the most recent movie that we have reviewed.
Yes.
As far as when it's come out. So didn't know what to expect. Haven't really talked to many people that have seen it so far. So I had fun.
I have a lot of friends online that follow our podcast as well.
Cool.
that when to go and see it. So I'm excited to exchange some DMs
Cool.
with them.
Let's hear what y'all got to think of Cocaine Bear.
And all of you, what do you guys think about it?
What are you thinking? Leave comments. I want to know. We'll respond, hopefully. Don't want to make any promises, but we might.
We'll respond within a 48-hour business day.
Sure. Let's try to make that promise. All right. Well, why don't we see what we were watching next week?
Yes.
Let's
and-
figure it out. Oh, look out. Scully's there.
God, I have to do some yoga.
We have a new addition to the set, everyone, by the way. We have Scully.
Scully over here.
Yeah. There's a clean out of a...
He's hot.
He's hot.
Is he taken?
Scully?
Or they? Sorry.
He's a man of very few words, so I haven't figured it out yet.
Okay.
We don't really know each other that well yet. But he's new to the set, so everyone welcome him. Scully, welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you, bro.
I think I'm gonna...
Yeah, it's your turn.
It's my turn? Good.
I pulled Cocaine Bear.
Really?
I want it to
Really?
be...
What do you want it to be as I'm rustling through
I want it
here?
to be a psychological thriller.
Okay, cool.
I want something that's going to fuck me up.
All right, cool. Let's see what we got. This is the one I'm going to pick.
Because we had Sweeney Todd and then we had Cocaine Bear. We've had fun.
We've had fun.
We need something that's going to be fucking brutal. No, I'm just kidding. I don't
Mentally
need it.
brutal.
I don't need it to be Brimstone.
Oh my God.
Brimstone.
Yeah, that's a little...
Brimstone was heavy.
Too much. I think so far in this season, we've had really good, first of all, classics.
Yes.
Ones that we've asked for before. A lot of different styles so far with fun ones. This was a comedy. We had musicals. We had found footage. So far, season 2, primo.
Yeah. No
if I might
found
say.
footage. If we can keep those in the bucket away from us, that would be great.
Okay, cool.
But I want something that's gonna terrify me and
All right.
ghost terrify me.
Let's see what we got.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
American honeymooners in Hungary become trapped in the home of a Satan-worshipping priest when the bride is taken there for medical help following a road accident. Sounds pretty fucked up already.
I mean, it's fucked up.
I don't know.
You don't know what it is?
I don't know.
I don't know what it is either. I was first thinking men, but I was like, no, it's not a couple. She goes there by herself.
Yeah. Well, let us find out. We will be watching The Black Cat from 1934.
Whoa!
Almost going back 100 years for this one. Wow.
Holy shit. I've never heard of this. Have we seen one from the 30s?
The Invisible Man, which was I think our third episode was from 33.
Oh, really?
31, 33. That was from the 30s. But I think this is that was the earliest film that we watched. So I think this will be the second earliest film that we've ever watched. Whoa.
Wow.
I don't think we've gone back this far this season yet.
No, we haven't.
So, cool.
That's why I'm excited.
Classic.
The Black Kitty Cat.
The Black Kitty Cat. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was a fun one.
Well, you can find us. We have a phone number.
We do have a phone number. That phone number, of course, is
773-669-6677.
You can call us, leave us a voicemail. Horror movie suggestions, why you love horror, or some thoughts on movies that we reviewed.
Yeah.
And we might play them later.
Yeah. Also, if it'd be really cool to hear some horror stories that you might have, any crazy encounters or I don't know, nightmares.
Love to hear that stuff.
Yeah. Just share what's comfortable. Don't share something traumatic. Just share something that, spooky, supernatural,
We want to hear it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, if you're in the Chicagoland area too, we are hosting a monthly trivia night at Hex Coffee. So please check our Instagram for details on that. And also, you can check Instagram.
You can check Instagram
For
me. You can follow me on Color Me Leslie.
me at Beep Richie T. I was trying to toss it up to you.
Yeah, no, which I was like, and did I forget a line?
You
nope,
caught it eventually.
I got it.
Yeah. Also check out the Deadlights pod. That's us. And Playground Social, which is the studio that we're recording this at. But until next week, let's get spooky.
Woo, 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 woo.
Oh yeah. Good.
Does that sound good?
I don't know. We're about to
Oh
see.
God.